You are watching the Southwestern American Choral Directors Association Connections podcast. Please like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel for future content. All right, hello everybody. We are connected now and ready to go for another episode of the SWACDA Connections podcast here. Today I'm joined by Dr. Elizabeth Hogan, who's going to be our 4 through 6 graded honor choir treble conductor. So Dr. Hogan, thank you so much for joining me on the pod.
I am so glad to be here.
Absolutely. So maybe we can first just start by having you tell us a little bit about your musical background, your upbringing, your professional life, anything you feel like is relevant there.
I love it. I grew up in a family with a principal as a dad and a music teacher as a mom. So I have joked very often that being a music educator is in the family business. And I started my teaching career in St. Louis, suburban St. Louis, teaching middle school in the Parkway School District, which is a suburban district there. Was a co-teacher in a program of about 350 middle school kids and did that for about 7 years. And it was just, I never imagined leaving there, but ended up going into a PhD program after that. While I was teaching, I had gotten my master's degree in choral conducting in the summers at Michigan State, and ended up going into a PhD program for music education. I had had some experience doing professional development in my school, leading some of that, and I started to get excited about adult education and thinking about the ways that my own teaching experience, but also kind of my understanding of schools, being in a family of educators, how that could impact future educators and helping to train them. So I spent some years in higher education after that. I was the professor of music education down at Southeast Missouri State University for 4 years. I taught after that. We had some family changes that required me to come back to St. Louis and work there. So I taught at Washington University in St. Louis for several years part-time and made the transition into nonprofit work related to education and music. So my background has been such that it has sort of pivoted around family needs, but I think it has given me a really rich understanding of all the ways that kids especially get to be lifelong learners of music. And I think one of my most important, maybe not most important, one of my biggest values in music education is finding ways to create community around music. My dissertation work was surrounding school and community partnerships, and the way I look at programming, the way I think about the reasons why I teach both adults and kids come from that understanding that I want people to have not just a wide range of musical experiences throughout their life, but also a long range of musical experiences throughout their life. So now in my world, I am the director of education for a large nonprofit and get to do music on the side as a hobby. And that has been a really good balance for me. So I teach private music lessons several days a week and also direct a women's chorus, a community women's chorus that meets weekly. And continue to get to do honor choirs like this. So it's been a really fun balance.
Yeah, that's very cool. You have a very diverse background here, and it seems like you've seen it all from all levels.
It's been a fun journey. And the other piece of it that continues to contribute to my musical life is singing with Mirabai, which is a women's chorus affiliated with Michigan State University.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Mirabai is very well known. Yeah, and enjoy the music and the work I hear coming from that ensemble. Great. Maybe you can talk to me just for a minute about your mentors or your influences in the world of choral music. You mentioned your parents there as educators, but maybe who are some of your mentors and what key lessons did you take away from them?
That is such a good question and a really rich one. When I think back to my time in undergraduate, I was attending the University of Missouri in a time where we had a transitional few years of leadership. So David Rail was my director in undergraduate, and after freshman year, he left and went to Michigan State. And but I had the great honor of working with him in honor choirs through high school. So and then also during my master's degree. So David Rail is just such an influential choral conductor in my past. He is someone who taught me to uh, he inspired me to understand music at a very high level, but also to approach it with integrity and to be really curious and excited about the history behind each piece of music and to understand the background and helping to illuminate that for my students. Um, when Dr. Rail left Mizzou, I got the wonderful honor of working with Paul Crabb in the last few years of my undergraduate time, and then also worked with him during my PhD work at the University of Missouri. Um, he held me to such a high level of work. And I will say I was a person who grew up and was kind of able to slide by. Pretty good musician growing up. And I think until I got to work with Dr. Crabb, nobody had pushed me to really dive in and work at an excellent level like he did. So throughout my career, he has been someone who has continued to inspire me with the way that he approaches doing excellent work. And that for sure. Sandra Snow has been such an influential conductor and teacher in my world, both through getting training with she and Doreen Rao at the CME training workshops, and also through Michigan State, and then through Mirabai. You know, she has been a mentor and a friend through many years as well. So I would say those are my three main influences as teachers, although I can't go without naming Katie Sinclair, who was my high school choir director in a small town in Missouri. And she and her husband, Rob, I continue to stay in touch with them. And Rob is at Vandercook University now. And so it has just been a rich experience to be a part of the choral conducting community.
Yeah, some really great names there, well-known names, and have impacted a lot of folks. And I'm glad they had an impact on you as well.
Yeah, if I could follow up on that, though, I would encourage everybody to think about who their friend tours are. So that's a little term that my friends and I have batted around, and I have the best group of friend tours. My text thread that's been around for, 15 years now is Derek Fox, Andrea Ramsey, Christy McMullen, and Ryan Beacon. And the five of them are the five of us together has been an epic friendship that has also been so inspiring.
Wow, yeah, a lot of great folks there to mention too. I haven't heard that term before. Maybe I'm just out of the loop because I try to stay offline for as much as I can.
I'm
But
sure somebody else came up with it, but I thought I made it up, but you know how that goes sometimes.
well, I love it. I love it. Friend tours. Okay, I'm gonna have to use
Yeah.
that. All right, consider it stolen. All right, okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, you have a great opportunity here to really make an impact on these young singers that are coming in for this honor choir with SWACDA in Albuquerque. Tell me a little bit about what you're excited about in imparting into these and just pouring into these young singers, and how what you think they should take away from this experience.
One thing that I try to consider, no matter how old the singers are that I'm working with, and you mentioned before, after I shared some of my background that has been vast in the types of experiences that I've had. And I think one of the biggest compliments that I've gotten from another mentor that's been so influential for me, who I student taught with and then was a colleague when I was teaching in my first teaching job, Brian Reeves. He said, "Elizabeth, I can't think of anybody else who excels at working with people of all ages that I would trust in front of a choir with all ages." And I really value that because I really try to see people as people. So when kids show up to be able to make music, I really try to treat them like participants, like co-collaborators in the process of making music. And I just absolutely I love the chance to get in a room with kids because they bring creativity and they bring a passion for making music. And my experience with kids of this age, specifically fourth through sixth graders, they are in a space where they are experiencing the world for the first time. Their understanding of the world is starting to broaden and open up. My own two daughters are in third and fourth grade now, so even thinking about this group of kids and having a fourth grader that I regularly interact with feels really cool. Something that I thought about as I was picking music for this group, and that I think kind of was inspired by the world and what I'm seeing in my own daughter and her emergence of understanding and how the world fits together. One of the things our family's thinking about is going and visiting the national parks this year because fourth graders get a national parks pass. And that's a special thing that is intentional for fourth graders because developmentally they are starting to experience the world more broadly. So when I thought of this group of fourth through sixth graders descending upon Albuquerque, maybe some of them traveling for the first time on a trip that was a little bit further away from home, which Albuquerque is to a lot of the states that are encompassing the southwestern region. Um, I tried to pick music that would engage their creativity and their imagination and sort of speak to where they are and what they're experiencing in that particular moment. So I'm really excited to bring all of those things together and have the experience of creating this music together with them that I think is pretty varied um, in its background and allows them to dabble in lots of styles and hopefully feels like that they can find ways to connect to many of the pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a, I don't know. I have a fifth grader in my
Yeah.
home too, so I understand completely what you're saying. And Albuquerque offers such rich opportunities. You talked about the national parks. On some of our site visits, had my family tag along the last one, and we visited some of the national parks there in New Mexico. I just encourage everybody, if your child makes this honor choir and is involved in this honor choir, take a little time on the outer rims of this conference, before or after. Go visit those national parks. It's such a great experience. But just to sing with you in this ensemble, it's going to be a formative experience for them. It's foundational for a lot of the work that we do in the middle school, high school, collegiate level, and even beyond in community and professional levels. It starts there. So what a gift to be able to make an impact on those students. So I'm so glad that you're in this role as the guest conductor. I think you're going to make a huge splash with them. You talked a little bit already about your repertoire selection. I'm going to pull up, if you don't mind, just a moment. I'm going to pull up our list of repertoire. Here is the list of all of our honor choir repertoire. And so you can see, hopefully everybody can see now, the 4 through 6 at the bottom here in this orange color, the 4 through 6 grade treble honor choir. Maybe you can talk to us a little bit about what influenced your decisions. You did already a little bit, but what influenced your decisions and anything that maybe stands out here in this that you're really excited about.
Oh, totally. So as I mentioned before, I was really thinking about the experience of the singer in this particular setting. And so I tried to pick pieces that in some way illuminated either their experience in singing with the honor choir or their experience of visiting New Mexico. Um, and so Route 66 immediately came to mind. One thing I think about when I program is trying to um, I don't want to step on any toes when I say this, but I think that there is room for incorporating different types of modern music into our experience, especially with our younger singers. We, of course, want to help them to experience traditional choral music as well. But I think one of the things that I learned from Christy McMullen, my friend, my friendtor, is that our opportunity to make a statement as an artist when we're a choral conductor really comes from our literature selection. And so I tried to create a holistic experience while I was programming for this ensemble as well. So we have Route 66. We have this idea of traveling from wherever they're coming from. And I loved the idea that Route 66, is of course a jazz standard. It also pulls in within the text elements of places that kids may already be familiar with. It's naming spots all along this route that many of our kids in the Southwest region will know about. So I loved that. I love the chance for them to do a little scat. I love the idea of having, an little jazz combo to accompany us and to give it a different color than some of our other music might have had. Um, and then another thing that I try to think about as I'm programming sometimes is who the audience will be for this ensemble. And we do have choral directors in the audience, but we will also have parents. And as you said, Jeff, you have a fifth grader in your house. I have a fourth grader in my house. And I would assume that watching the movie Newsies was a foundational experience for you and for many of us who are our age. So when I thought about New Mexico and I thought of the song Santa Fe, and there's a particular, it's the prologue version of Santa Fe that is, the lyrics of it are slightly different from what occurs in the movie, but it is really beautiful. And even though it's a solo, I envisioned this big group of kids singing about the dream of going to this new place and thinking about what they might feel like as they're preparing for this journey to come and be a part of this choir and the imagination that takes place when they are doing that. So I'm excited to see how that comes about and comes together. Um, then the Victor Johnson, the Tres Canciones de los Elementos, I was looking for something in Spanish language. And I was thinking about all of the beautiful nature that is out in this area of the country. And you kind of named some of that with your visits to the national parks. And I'm hoping to be able to do that with my kids too. And so I loved this piece because it's a set of 3 miniatures and it is focused on 3 different elements, wind, fire, and it just, I think, encapsulates lots of different textures and sounds, and is beautifully written for young voices. All the Way Home by Sarah Cortell. So this piece, it is sort of simple and very singable and lovely. And I think the text, it references friendship. And I was thinking about the friendships and the new connections that kids in this choir might experience. I talked on the phone yesterday with a friend of mine who is now a professor in Ohio, and we started out our first year of honor choir camp together, our freshman years of high school, and have stayed friends this whole time as we have been throughout this profession together. And I think about all the friends that I've made along the way when I participate in honor choirs and go to conferences. And, some of these foundational elements will be present for kids. I mentioned my friend tours, and 2 of them, Derek Fox and Andrea Ramsey, were in the regional choir together in Arkansas. And one of the most memorable conversations about directing honor choirs I have experienced was between them. And they were giggling about this recording that they had found of this honor choir that they had participated in, maybe freshman year of high school or something, one of those early experiences. And they were giggling about how bad it sounded on the recording, but they both mentioned how transformational it was to their understanding of what it means to be a choral person, a choir director, a choir singer, somebody who's an artist. And I really thought about that. And it has changed the way that I work with honor choirs, these short-term gatherings of people. Of course, I want them to be at an excellent level, right? And we're going to work at an excellent level, and I do that work. But what I want them to walk away with, what I want them to feel like when they leave is empowered to continue with friendships and continue with a passion for making music. So that is All the Way Home by Sarah Cortell. Okay, I'm so excited to get to be a part of performing Imaginary Creatures by Andrea Ramsey. So in the description of this piece, it mentions that the text is written by 4 through 9-year-olds. My 2 children were participants in that small group of 4 through 9-year-olds. During the pandemic, Andrea asked several of us if we would record our kids talking about a set of imaginary creatures. So we interviewed our kids and sent those recordings to Andrea, and she took all of the things that they said about this set of imaginary creatures, and she used that to create the text for this piece.
Wow,
So
that's so awesome.
yeah, isn't that cool?
That's inventive. Yeah, really inventive. And I've heard of some other folks doing that. Especially through COVID from high school groups and that kind of thing. But to hear from the mouths of babes, so to speak. That's a really cool idea, and I don't know that I've heard this, and I'm really looking forward to it now.
Yeah, and I love that the treatment of it is very it's artistic, of course. It's very elevating for what you might anticipate and some of the what the lyrics are. Um, we joke in our house that one of my daughter's quotes that comes out of it is she wears about mermaids. She wears a bra in the water, a seashell. There's some really fun ones that come through that, and I'm just super over the moon to finally get to work with that piece because it was initially put out for SATB choir, and this two-part version allows it to be accessible to kids. So, and then finally, oh my gosh, Revolting Children from Matilda. Um, it's it's rhythmically complex and it is, but I think it's so clever that it will be really a fun challenge for kids. Um, and this idea of kids being revolting and then also turning that around, the pun of that, you know, not just them being offensively revolting, but them turning around and finding power in that and finding revolt against being revolting. I think there is an element of um, this desire to be um, to change the world that exists in fourth through sixth graders. And so I just think this piece is really interesting and clever, and I think it will connect with kids in a really unique way.
Yeah, all of that's really, really great. And thank you for taking the time to kind of take us through your repertoire choices and, why you selected some of those things. Um, we talked also about, some of your friend tours and how they were transformed by early experiences in these under choir settings. So talk to me a little bit about the student that might come through these under choir experiences. In at least in my experience, I've seen local community children's choirs, school children's choirs, those sorts of things, but not as many opportunities, perhaps, for this age group to travel distances, as you mentioned, to come together with like-minded young singers for an honor choir experience at the regional level, national level. So, what do you think these singers can take away, whether they become professional musicians in their adult life or not? Um, what impact do you think this is going to have long term on their overall life, their experiences, their own crafts, their professions, whatever those may be?
I love the idea of choir. I love the idea of teaching people to be people through choir, and an experience like this where we as a country are very divided right now in a lot of ways, and there are a lot of entities that are hoping to divide us further. And I love the idea of young people getting to come together, um, meet people who are from different places to get the experience of seeing how they're different and how they're the same, to work toward a common goal. And the thing that gives me chills about singing and choir is teaching people to use their voice, to feel empowered to use their voice, to feel heard, to feel the experience of being intentional and planning, um, the chance to be able to speak to something, to collectively create something that's beautiful or thought-provoking or entertaining. Um, I can't think of a more wonderful way to use our time and resources than to participate in something like that. So I hope that kids come away from this, whether they're musicians or not, and that they have the experience of um, finding power and influence and using their voice, getting together with people who maybe have some differences from them and still doing something collectively, and just having a good time and having a sense of appreciation for what it means to put together something really complex.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and You are absolutely right. This communal aspect of singing together, using our voice, building community, all of that hopefully will permeate positively into their teenage and adult lives. So I think people are going to be super excited, whether it's directors, parents, or the singers themselves, to get to know you a little bit, hopefully through this video, so they can get excited about coming to Albuquerque and SWACDA to work with you. I know that I'm interested to dip into your rehearsals and watch you work a little bit. Maybe you can close us out a little bit by telling us where can people find you online, if they want to contact you, and maybe any other projects that you might have coming up that you're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. So people can connect with me through my website, which is www.elevatedharmonics.com. That is my studio, and I do educator coaching as well, for people who are, in the classroom, in the trenches, and want a unbiased ear to help them navigate things like classroom behavior issues, music growth, job change, things like that. I've really enjoyed working with educators who are playing with those ideas in their own life. Work-life balance. Those are all things that I speak to with my clients. So they can find me there. I'm also on all of the social media platforms, and am happy to connect that way too. Something that I'm really excited about right now is the work that I have been doing through my day job on disability inclusion. And so we are presenting at a conference in Ohio on the work that we're doing with disability inclusion and learning. So unrelated to choir, but very exciting. And then Mirabai is performing in Rhode Island in the spring as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. And finally, my choir, Bel Canto, here in St. Louis, we are performing a concert in November that is coming together so beautifully. It's my second year working with them as their director, and I love the chance to make music with them regularly. So anybody who's in the greater St. Louis area, we'd love to see you at our concert in November.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thanks so much for carving out some time to join me today and to talk a little bit about your music selection and what you're excited about, and hopefully getting everyone else excited about working with you. It's been great to have you on the pod. And as we mentioned beforehand, I didn't know you before, but I'm really glad to get to connect with you on Zoom. Hopefully we can connect in real life, and I can share coffee with you and pick your brain a little bit.
I would love that, Jeff. It's so good to get to meet you. I'll look forward to seeing you in Albuquerque.
All right. Likewise. All right. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.